Every single edition of the Silver Boot series feels like it's elevated in importance. But this series, this weekend, heading into the All-Star break, might just make or break the Rangers season.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the World Series champion Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covering this team for 11 seasons, including all 6 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, before we get into this massive weekend series against the Astros, a little bit of MLB draft preview and Marcus Semien earning that All-Star nod. This episode of Locked On Rangers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. So check out Booking.com for your stay today. Now, the Rangers head into Houston for their final series of the unofficial first half before the All-Star break. A short little trip to Houston before heading back to Arlington or wherever they're going for their All-Star weekend. But this is just about as big as a regular season series as the Rangers have had this year. It's massive. It is absolutely cannot be understated, the importance of this series. And the Rangers are coming off of a good series against the Angels. I know they definitely would have preferred to finish off the sweep, head into Houston on a 6-game winning streak, but that's not how things shook out. And that's not how they are sitting right now. The Houston Astros have been on an absolute tear since the start of June, and even a little bit before it, and the Rangers just haven't been. They have been well behind the Astros for the last, couple of weeks, last month and a half or so. They're starting to catch up, but it is do or die time for this Ranger squad. Starting pitching matchups are pretty favorable in the Rangers' favor as of right now. It is going to be Andrew Heaney versus Hunter Brown on Friday night, Nathan Eovaldi versus Spencer Arrighetti on Saturday, and then TBD versus Ronel Blanco on Sunday. That would normally be John Gray's spot in the rotation, but with the off day, Max Scherzer could be available on regular rest to start that game. So I would anticipate that is how the Rangers go with their starting rotation this weekend. I'm pretty sure they would lean towards Scherzer because Scherzer has been much, much better as of late than John Gray. And especially if you've got this All-Star rest, you've got him on normal rest, and he is feeling really darn good, and he has been really darn good this whole season, Max Scherzer that is, then I think that would probably be the move. Maybe go with a kind of split start, have John Gray coming out of the bullpen. But either way, no matter who's starting, no matter who is in the lineup, no matter who is coming out of the pen, this Rangers team needs to win 2 out of 3, at least. You don't want to say they need a sweep, especially against a team that is as good as the Houston Astros, that has been as hot as the Houston Astros, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation right now of where the Rangers have dug themselves into with this slow start. By the way, do want to send all the love in the world to all of our friends and family in Houston, including those at Locked On Astros, even the Astros fans, even those who are Astros fans in Houston, just everyone in Houston, hoping that they are all safe and hope that they can get all their power back after Hurricane Beryl this week. I'm hoping that everything is okay there. I know I have some friends and family who have been suffering from power outages, and I wish nothing but the best and sending all the love in the world to the folks in Houston. Hope y'all are staying safe and that everything can get resolved there quickly. But once we turn to the baseball, things will be a little bit different, a little bit spicier. The spice will absolutely still be there. So I hope that everything in your regular life is great, but I hope your baseball team just stinks a little bit this weekend. This is going to be a tough matchup. The Astros have been suffering a lot of injuries as of late, especially on the pitching side. Maybe the only team that is more injured on the pitching staff this year than the Texas Rangers. Let me just read off the list of pitchers on the Astros 60-day IL. not just the 15-day IL. This is just the guys on their 60-day IL, just the pitchers, mind you. There's Luis Garcia, Kendall Graveman, Christian Javier, Lance McCullers Jr., Penn Murphy, Oliver Ortega, Bennett Sousa, and Jose Urquidy. Let's count them. How many guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different pitchers on their 60-day IL. That's a lot. That is a lot. And so because of that, the Astros have had to go a little bit deeper into their farm of guys they weren't really hoping to call on this year to come up and, save them, if you will. And for the most part, they haven't quite done that. Spencer Arrighetti was the Astros' top pitching prospect this year. He's been a little suspect. He's been, better as of late, but still not great. His ERA is just barely below 6. Hunter Brown started the year really, really bad. He has been much, much better as of late. Framber Valdez also started the year really bad, but has been much better as of late. Christian Javier, like I said, out for the year. Justin Verlander's on the 15-day IL. Still, he's only made 10 starts this season. He hasn't been amazing. He's been fine. JP France is on the 7-day IL. I mean, they have just so many different guys that have been on the IL that just haven't been, as ready as they expected. But Ronel Blanco has been the only one that has been, much, much better than expected. Blanco has been saving their bacon this season. But it's not just on the pitching side that this team is dealing with injuries. I mean, they are also dealing with Kyle Tucker, who has been out for quite a while, only played 60 games to this point in the season. Yordan Alvarez is a bit dinged up. He has been on fire as of late, but he didn't play in the last game of the Astros series against the Fishies of the Marlins in Houston. But we'll see if we see him in this series. We're not going to see Kyle Tucker this series. Jose Altuve has been dealing with a hand injury, but he's been playing through it. We'll talk more about that when we talk about Marcus Semien earning the start for the AllStar game in the next segment, and yet again, Josh Smith being snubbed. But this team that got off to a much worse start than the Rangers the first month and a half of the season has turned it back around much better. The offense is looking just as deep as we thought it would be. Jose Abreu has been DFA'd. He's been cut. Paying that $40 million for him not to play over the next 2 years. He was just the worst hitter in baseball. But most everyone else has turned things around. This is the dangerous Houston team that the Rangers were probably scared of. That I know I was definitely at least a little scared of heading into this season. They got themselves into a hole and they're digging out of it. And the Mariners, as big a lead as they had earlier in the season, it seems like they are losing a little bit of steam. It's kind of a little bit of the same play as last year in the AL West, of one team gets out to an amazing start and then starts to falter and trip down the stretch and doesn't quite sustain that hot early start. And then two teams start terribly and then heat up in a big way. But it seems like right now the Astros are the same Astros last year doing what they did last year. But in this case, the Rangers and the Mariners have swapped places. The Rangers got off to the hot start last year and held on for dear life down the stretch. And the Mariners started off poorly, but then went on a nuclear hot streak, which I'm hoping the Rangers can recreate. That's the hope. Except the other hope is that the Rangers don't do what the Mariners did in September and start cratering and miss the playoffs just barely in mind-numbing fashion, and then watch the Mariners go on to win the first World Series in their franchise's history. This is about where I hope the things delineate from what they did last year. But every single game of this series is crucial. Every single game moving forward, with the Rangers putting themselves in this position to possibly be sellers at the deadline. I talked a little about Max Scherzer declaring that he would not waive his no-trade clause on yesterday's show, and I think that could have a big impact on this team. Them just believing in each other at the right time could be enough to start turning things around because, again, the talent is there. The talent all up and down this roster is there. Even without the injury replacements coming back, which I'm hoping that all of the injured players do come back and do perform like themselves, this team as is good enough to have at least a 500 record and to be challenging the Astros and the Mariners for the title of the AL West crown. They are good enough. They just haven't played like it for the first 3 months of the season. They're getting there. They are on the hot streak right now, but you've got to do everything in your power to maintain it. And one thing that could really, really help them maintain this hot streak is their all-star starter, Marcus Semien. This episode of Locked On Rangers is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah. With summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn about. Yes, we're even talking about your rival cities. With hotels, bed and breakfasts, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival's city. There are all kinds of great Major League Baseball cities you can go explore in the Rangers' second half. Hopefully, as they are, on this hot streak, winning a bunch of games, you can go out, watch them on the road in, I don't know, say maybe New York they've got going on later. They've got some games later on in the season in Anaheim, or if you wanted to go check out those games towards the end of the year in either Seattle or Oakland, there's all kinds of different great things you can find on Booking.com. So the right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, like I said, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. At eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Now, the Rangers do have an all-star starter. Now, it is just because of a technicality, because Jose Altuve has a hand injury that he is nursing, still playing through it, but he is not going to go to Arlington for the AllStar Game. So, the guy who finished number 2 in second base voting, Marcus Semien, is going to start the AllStar Game, which apparently has Houston fans thrilled. That is a Make-A-Wish thing. I don't know what's going on there. I have a lot of Houston fans talking trash about Marcus Semien starting only because Altuve's out, and I don't think Marcus Semien really gives a crap. I know I don't really give a crap. He was already an all-star, so this is just kind of a technicality, and Marcus has not been up to snuff. He honestly has not been as good as Jose Altuve this year. That's pretty obvious, at least offensively. Marcus defensively has been as good as ever, if not better than ever. Right now in Defensive Baseball Reference 4, he is the 7th best defender in Major League Baseball. Not just the American League, not just for infielders, not just for second baseman, but the second best defensive player in Major League Baseball. And I think 7th is honestly pretty low given what he has done. It's just second base does not usually get that much defensive WAR. Apparently, outside of Bryce Terang, who is the best defensive player in Major League Baseball, according to Baseball Reference's defensive WAR, and he does play second base. And he also spells his name right, so good for Bryce Terang, my Bryce champion. But anyway, congratulations to Marcus Semien for getting this honor, being named an all-star starter 2 years in a row. This wasn't his best year, but there's not really a whole lot of great second basemen in the American League. It definitely feels a little bit like a career nod of like, hey, we know how good you have been. And he started off the year really hot. I mean, the month of April was pretty good for him, but the month of May, the month of June, just really abysmally bad. But in July, things are starting to finally turn around, specifically the last 7 days for Marcus Semien. Not the biggest sample size, but enough that you can kind of see things starting to turn around. In those last 6 games, he's hitting over 300, an on base of 429, and an OPS of 907. He's got 5 walks to just 2 strikeouts and finally does have a home run. The only home run he's had in the last 28 days came against those Angels. He has been much, much better as of late. And if the Rangers are going to turn things around, if they're going to go on a hot streak, if they're going to keep this offense rolling, for the last couple of years, basically since Marcus Semien has gotten here, and he has been the Rangers' leadoff hitter in basically every single game they've played since 2022, this offense goes as Marcus Semien goes. There have been hot streaks and cold streaks from other players that haven't really, surged or, improved the Rangers offense that much, or cold streaks that have sunk the Rangers offense as much as when Marcus Semien is not getting on base, not driving in runs, not, doing the things you want your leadoff hitter to do, doing the things that he has done in his career and in his career with Texas for the most part. When he's not doing that, this Rangers offense really, really stagnates to the point where they were even having talks about maybe moving him out of the leadoff spot. The Rangers need a continued hot streak from Marcus Semien, and there's no better place for him to go for that hot streak than, of course, Houston, who he hits very, very well for his career, and also, seeing him not get a chance to hit against his favorite Houston Astros pitcher in Framber Valdez. I'm sure he would have been looking forward to that opportunity, but alas, Framber Valdez is not going to pitch this weekend. It is going to be, like I said, Eric Getty. It is going to be Hunter Brown, and it is also going to be Ronel Blanco. So maybe we can see a breakout there against one of those guys. But Marcus Semien has hit incredibly well in Houston. For him to continue this, turn this from 6 good games to 9 good games, and then 10 good games, and then whatever, that needs to continue for him, because in Houston, where we go, I've been trying to pull this split up, his career slash line at Minute Maid Park in Houston. At Houston, he's played 66 games in his career, and over that span, he has got 13 home runs, 19 doubles, hitting .294 with an OPS of .886 in those 66 games. He's been absolutely fantastic. It has been his best road ballpark that he has hit in his career. Better than LA, better than pretty much anywhere. Seattle, he has not hit all that well, but the other AL West stadiums that haven't been his home, he has hit the best in Houston, mainly because he is such an extreme pull hitter, because they have that extremely short porch in left field that even away players can make use of, and the Rangers will hopefully get to make use of that. Maybe may lead off home run from Marcus Semien would be a nice way to start this Friday night game or Saturday, or really any game. There's not a bad leadoff home run to hit. But the other side of the coin, Willie Castro is going to be the injury replacement for Jose Altuve in the AllStar Game for the American League. He is a second baseman. He is having a pretty decent season with the Twins, but not an amazing season to the point where you'd think, oh, this guy is absolutely absolutely deserved all-star player. He's been a utility guy. He's having a fine year, hitting .268. He's got 7 home runs, 22 doubles, 5 triples, an OPS of .784. But again, Josh Smith snubbed the second time to be an injury replacement. Now, I know Josh Smith is technically a third baseman for the most part this year, but he's also a utility guy. He has also played second base. Not very much, because Marcus Semien plays basically every day, although 2 off days this year make it feel like, wow, he just might as well be a part-time player by Marcus Semien standards. But he's played shortstop, he's played second, played third, played the outfield, not this year, but in the past, he has played the outfield, so he absolutely should have been considered for this. It was kind of interesting, the video that the Twins released of telling Willie Castro that he was an all-star. They woke him up from his nap, and you could tell that he kind of looked like he thought he was about to get bad news about being traded. It kind of reminded me of Michael Lorenzen finding out last year. He said when he found out that he was an all-star, he thought that he was about to get traded away in Detroit, and he was like, oh, well, I guess I'm an all-star. Okay, cool. But if it's that surprising to the player themselves, then why is this guy the all-star replacement? Why is it not Josh Smith? What else does Josh Smith have to do? Does everybody have to not show up for him to finally get the nod? I mean, he doesn't even have to catch a flight. Well, I guess technically he will have to catch a flight from Houston back to Arlington, but he lives there. You just call him up. He'll probably be around. Maybe he has all-star plans to go vacation, but still, this guy is having a phenomenal season. Absolutely phenomenal. He has been the Rangers' best player all year, bar none. Sorry to throw shade on Kirby Yates, who, if it's not Josh Smith, then I think Kirby Yates might just be the Rangers' best player, because he might just be the best reliever in all of baseball this year. But Josh Smith is absolutely deserving of an all-star nod. I don't know what else this kid has to do to get the nod. Maybe he's just not getting it this year. Maybe Rob Manfred is wielding that influence left, right, and center. I know in years past, it has been the manager of the all-star team that gets to name the replacement, and that's Bruce Bochy. But that's not the case this year. If that was the case, I don't think that the other injury replacements would. I don't think Jordan Westbrook would have been picked over Josh Smith. I definitely don't think that Willie Castro would have been picked over Josh Smith. But alas, that's how it goes. Josh Smith said it doesn't bother him all that much. We know how good he's been, and the all-star selection would have been nice recognition of that. But it seems like it's not going to happen this year. And you know what? That freaking sucks. Because when players like this have this kind of a year, maybe he won't have another season like this again. I think he will. I think he is just this player now, and that would be awesome and game-changing for the Rangers as a franchise if this is just who Josh Smith is now. That would be amazing. But alas, not getting this recognition is just an absolute failure by Major League Baseball to do right by one of the guys who is having one of the best seasons of anyone in Major League Baseball this year. Here on Locked On Rangers, we pride ourselves in getting you the latest news for your team. Whether it's the offseason, the draft, spring training, or the playoffs, it's year-round. You know what else is year-round? Collection season. Just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS will stop coming after you for your unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Don't let the IRS target you. Let licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. With over 14 years of experience and an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, have complicated matters that require tax planning, or finally hit that parlay this season and need help correctly filing, call 1-800-549-1000 or visit tnusa.com/lockedon. And be sure to mention Locked On Rangers at checkout, and you'll receive a $250 discount off their services. This show is brought to you by Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist that understands your size and style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you, and it is the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. You can easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist that helps you find new on-trend favorites that work for you. I just give my stylist my size, style, and budget preferences, and I order boxes when I want, how I want, no subscription required. And they send 5 just-for-me pieces, outfit recommendations, and pro styling advice. I keep what works, and I send back the rest. If you don't love something, just send it back, because shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. Style that makes you look as good as you feel. Now is the best time to get started on StitchFix.com/MLB and get $100 off. That's $25 off your first 4 fixes for a limited time only. That's StitchFix.com/MLB for $100 off. StitchFix.com/MLB. Must redeem within 7 days of sign-up. Offer does not include kids fixes. Now, the most significant part of the Rangers season this weekend is definitely this series against Houston. But the second most significant part of what's happening with this franchise, well, I don't think it's the futures game. It is absolutely the MLB draft. Something I have not talked about really at all this year because the Rangers do not have a top 5 pick in a 5-player draft like last year. They were not in the MLB draft lottery to try and get that number 1 overall pick or try and get a better pick than where their record indicated they should be, because the Rangers are picking at my favorite spot in the draft, 30th. Do you know why they're picking 30th? You probably do, but it's worth saying again. They're picking 30th in the draft because the Texas Rangers won the World Series in 2023. That's why this is my favorite pick in the draft. My favorite place to draft. I hope the Rangers draft 30th in every draft from now until the end of time. That'd be awesome. But the realities of that is that the draft is less exciting for you as a Rangers fan. It is less, fraught with, oh my gosh, we're going to get this franchise-defining star with our first pick in this draft because, maybe, just maybe, the Rangers have done a much, much better job of drafting in the first round as of late than they had in John Daniels' tenure. They have had some smart draft choices. They have had some luck last year, getting some lottery luck of jumping up from the 7th pick in the draft to the 4th pick in the draft because of the first year of the MLB draft lottery. And then also some luck that the Tigers decided not to pick Wyatt Langford. I hope Max Clark is a great player for them, and he's all well, nice, and good. But I have to imagine that the teams who, I don't think the Pirates are going to have any qualms about picking Paul Skeens first overall, seeing as he is starting the AllStar Game about a year after he was drafted. Alas, Wyatt Langford did not make the AllStar team the year after he was drafted, but he is still performing incredibly well in his own right. But the Rangers this year are picking 30th. There are a few guys who have been mocked to them. They have had a trend as of late of going with mainly college picks. It has been more really about the talent than about, specifically prioritizing college picks versus high school picks. High school picks are definitely riskier. You usually have to give a little bit bigger of a bonus to some of those, later round high school picks to get them to opt out of their college commitments, to make it worth their while, to actually sign with you. But, the Rangers bonus pool is so much lower than it was last year. This year, they are $2,100 shy of $7 million for their overall budget to spend on MLB draft pick bonuses. Just shy of $7 million. Last year alone, Wyatt Langford got $8 million for his signing bonus. So, that's just kind of a little bit of perspective of what's going on there. There have been some different mock drafts. I've kind of tried to round them up. There has been a little bit of a trend of guys who are being mocked to the Rangers. A couple of different publications projected the Rangers picking some college catchers, a couple of guys who I think are really, really interesting, have some high upside, and could be a really good pick for the Rangers. MLB Pipeline was one of those who mocked the Rangers picking a college catcher. This guy, Walker Janik, catcher out of Sam Houston State. He is from Portland, Texas, and he had a fantastic season with Sam Houston State last year. He hit .368. He had 17 home runs and 15 doubles. Yeah, 17 home runs and 15 doubles. He is going to be a first-team All-American, definitely the best catcher in baseball. He was a semifinalist for the Golden Spikes Award for the best college baseball player in the country. And I love catchers who can hit. Those are rare things. We'll see if he ends up sticking at catcher. There are a little bit of concerns there. He was a guy who didn't have a whole lot of interest in him coming out of high school, but he has really turned into one of, if not the best catching prospects in this draft class. I can always say you could never have enough catchers. It is so hard to find them and develop them. The Rangers do have Jonah Heim, and when you're in the MLB draft, you are never drafting about need. It is never about that. It is just get the best guy available. And I don't know, Walker Janik might just be that guy. But if he is not the best catching prospect in this draft, I think it's probably going to be Malcolm Moore out of Stanford. He is a catcher who last year had a lot of hype on him. The first couple of years of his college career, he had all the shine on him. Last year, not quite as much. He would have been an early round draft pick. He's still considered pretty consensus top 30 guy, first round talent. Last year he had a 255, 414, 553 slugging percentage. So that is him being a down year. But the first couple of seasons, he hit over 300, an on base of 386, and had 15 home runs in his first 64 college games. He won Pac-12 All-American. He was a freshman All-American. Pac-12 Freshman of the Year. He was fantastic over there in his first couple years. Not quite as much this past year, but I think it could be a good case of buy low. The bat is legit, much more so than the glove. There are some defensive concerns that he might end up being a first baseman, which would be not ideal. But that's kind of the risk with all catching prospects is, can you really catch? Can you still hit as a catcher? Those are rare kinds of players. So, yeah, the Rangers are very, very happy they have a Jonah Heim, but Jonah Heim is, 28, 29, 30 this year. Still got a few years under control, but you can never have enough catching prospects. I absolutely love the thought about maybe getting a catching prospect. There's another guy who later on, another college catcher, who I don't think the Rangers would pick in the first round, but is someone who I've had my eye on because he is a Texas Tech player. That is Kevin Boswell, a catcher out of Texas Tech. MLB Pipeline has him graded as their 55th best prospect, so maybe a second-round guy the Rangers look at. He's 21 years old. He has a potential 60 future hit tool, 45 power, according to MLB Pipeline. He started a little bit at third base earlier on in his career. There was just a better catcher at Texas Tech than him, so he didn't start at catcher. A guy who I think the Rangers could look at in the second round, and I think would be really, really interesting. Another guy who has been mocked to the Rangers is a guy who was a World Series hero, College World Series hero for the LSU Tigers back when they won it all. That is, of course, Tommy White. He has played at third base. He has hit incredibly well the last couple of years, got a lot of raw power. But there are concerns of, can this guy really stick at third? Is he really going to be an okay defender at third base? The bat is legit. The pop is fantastic. He hit fantastic in the College World Series in Omaha last year. LSU didn't make it to the College World Series this year, but Tommy White still had a really, really good season. Was one of their better hitters at LSU. One of the better hitters in the SEC, which is incredibly deep class of SEC hitters, guys like Charlie Condon, like Jack Caglione, also like, Braden Montgomery at Texas A&M. There's a lot of good college hitters in this draft. Travis Bazana is probably going to go number 1 overall. He is a guy out of Oregon State who plays second base and just hits like absolutely crazy this year. Projected future plus hit and power tool according to MLB Pipeline. That's incredibly difficult to do. He's also a plus runner as well. Decent fielder, but playing second base, a lot of potential value there for the Cleveland Guardians, who are picking first overall. That'll be good on them. But I'm not as concerned about the draft this year. I obviously trust what Chris Young and company are doing. There's also been some buzz that the Rangers might be leaning a little bit more towards the high school end of the draft as opposed to the college end of the draft. A guy who is probably going to be available around where the Rangers are, a second baseman / shortstop out of Westlake High School. He is 18 years old, hits left-handed. Theo Gilman. He is rated as the 28th best prospect in the draft, according to MLB Pipeline. We'll see if the Rangers end up looking at him. He's got a first-round potential. He might be the best bat of anybody in this draft, best high school bat of anybody in this draft class, according to MLB Pipeline. There's concerns about a knee injury, whether he sticks at shortstop, just like pretty much everybody drafted at shortstop, but definitely not the thing that most Rangers fans will be looking at this weekend, as this series against Houston is going to be absolutely critical. I'm excited to see who the Rangers end up drafting. I would love it if they got any of these guys that I talked about as the projected possible first-round picks that they got, whether it's Tommy White, whether it's either of those college catchers. Really excited to see what the Rangers do with their draft pick, but way more excited to see the Rangers hopefully sweep this series in Houston and give themselves a great feeling heading into this All-Star Week in Arlington. That's going to do it for this week's shows. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy World Series champion Texas Rangers baseball.